Hello and welcome back to the Single Malt Review. We've got Tim and Dave here once again for not a malt, not a whiskey, not even a review. We're just going to sit down with a bit of an oddity because people wanted to know a little bit more about sherry when we took a bit of a deep dive into the world of Oloroso.
Yes.
And we've gone even deeper to the murkiest, muckiest end of the pool. It's Pedro Ximénez.
Yes, well, we looked at whiskey-adjacent products before in the past a lot, and Pedro Ximénez is certainly up there. PX casks are often used, often in quite boutique or high-end Scotch whiskies. Glendronach are wide users, for instance.
That's probably the flagstaff for the use of PX. Glendronach and, their sister distillery of sorts, Benriach. But yeah, what is it, Dave? It's a weird animal.
Pedro Ximénez is the grape varietal. This all comes from the Jerez region in Spain, which gives sherry its name. And there's a difference here in that there is no actual wine per se. What with PX, you take the PX grapes and you dry them, let them sun dry or otherwise, take that rich, concentrated, sugary juice, fortify it with brandy, then mature that in your vats, and you get the not only the rich, indulgent dessert wine we're about to try, you also get the amazing casks which do phenomenal things to Scotch whisky when they are then used to age whisky. Yeah,
there's a lot going on. So it's more of a juiced raisin that's been then boosted up with some brandy.
It is fortified grape juice rather than fortified wine as such. This is the Lustau PX. They are a Solera aging winery. They've been in business for quite some time and are fairly well regarded, I understand. I'm far from an expert, but this is a highly available PX from our local wine experts.
Yeah, there's certainly one that does the rounds over here.
It is a muy dolce, or very sweet offering. There are different degrees of sweetness of PX, ranging from, I think, this very sweet up to phenomenally weapons grade sweet.
Yeah, and I would have said this is all the way sweet to begin with, so goodness knows what's happening.
Well, one of the recommended servings for this is, as we have it here, chilled to about 11 degrees Celsius, or even served over ice cream. So, yeah, they're expecting this to be applied sweetly.
Yeah, wow.
This is a hearty 17% ABV. This is a high alcohol content. It is very much into the liqueur territory. It is a rich, very dark, reddy brown. It is quite gorgeous to look at.
But it's still, you might get the impression that it's cloudy, but it's not. It is clear. It's just very dark, very dark red. And boy, does it smell of raisins.
Yeah. It is pure Christmas in a bottle.
If you have ever opened one of those cardboard packets of raisins and just snorted it, that's pretty much the effect of this one. It's not because the Oloroso, that was quite a wildly dry and complex thing. This is a bit more simple. This is raisins.
Yeah, there is so much sweetness. So if I recall, the sherry was a bit lower in alcohol content.
It was significantly lower. That was barely more than 15.
Bone dry, despite the fact that sherry casks create quite sweet Scotch whisky.
Yeah, this one is just the opposite. It's still pretty strong, but man, there is some sweetness going on in here. Think prune juice on so many steroids, like Russian Olympics level of steroids. It is wild. Oh, it's actually thick. It's actually thick all the time.
It is syrupy and treacly.
I wish they had published the grams per litre of sugar, because that would give you an idea of just how much sugar there is. Because this has got to be... This is, if you've ever had like Coke syrup, soft drink syrup before it's actually entered carbonated water, there's a certain density and there's an actual viscosity to this, which kind of betrays how much sugar is in here.
So much sugar has not been fermented out. On the pound here is just straight up concentrated grape juice in here.
Well, I mean, fermentation hasn't taken place.
Exactly.
There's grape juice, and then they've tipped some brandy on top. The yeast have never had a say in the process. Not that the yeast would be able to do anything at 17%; they would simply die on impact. But
so the brandy has gone in, and then there has the straight grape juice that has been aged in those oak casks and just left to mellow for an indeterminate amount of time.
This is so sweet; it actually makes my face screw up a little bit. It is. I don't mind sweet things, but there's a threshold at which point sweet stuff starts to destroy me.
It is indulgent. This is a very, very Moorish, very sippable liqueur, effectively.
But I think I can fix that. I can fix that with
yes.
what I've chosen to pair this with, which is a really rich, creamy blue cheese. And let's see if this solves my problem.
Can be a good granny cracker and good blue cheese. It is one of the recommended serving options too, other than pour it over vanilla ice cream. It is served with a cheese board with strong, sharp blue cheese.
Oh, there we go. I would actually have serious qualms about matching this with something that was itself sweet. It's like sweet on sweet. I can't do it. But
that is perfection. That is a stunning mix.
Extremely sweet with extremely savoury. Now you're playing ball.
Yeah. At the same time, though, it is interesting how this is so worlds apart from a PX cask matured whiskey. Much like with bourbon matured Scotch, you don't simply taste Scotch that's been slightly influenced, but like had some bourbon tipped into it. It has its own unique flavour. A PX influenced whiskey is distinct, but it's distinct from PX itself.
Yeah, I think some of because you get spice from PX. There's not a great deal of spice in here, or if there is, it is so soundly subsumed by the sugar.
You get a rich,
that we
porty,
can't quite get it.
I guess raisiny would cover it, but it's kind of like a dark chocolatey depth, a richness, a plumminess, which is not necessarily present here, but this does have a richness and depth of its own.
Yeah, it's odd.
It's a good example of how what's left behind in the cask is different to what ends up in the bottle in both cases, for the whiskey, which came out of this cask, and also a fortified wine, which was there in the first instance.
So as a thing to recommend, much like the Oloroso sherry is going to be mileage may vary depending on one's palate, this is going to be mileage may vary in completely the opposite direction. I think there's no person on the world who would hate both of these things, and very few that would love both of them. I quite like Oloroso. This is so profoundly sweet that it exceeds my ability to enjoy it as a thing. It's so sugary. It is so sugary. I wish I knew the residual sugar on here, because I think it's bananas level high. I think we're talking maybe 300 to 400 grams per litre, as in if were you to boil this down, you'd just be left with grape caramel at the bottom in a significant quantity. It's frighteningly sweet. Can be mitigated by this lovely blue cheese and crackers, and then we're in the business. Then I'm on board. But drinking it straight on its own, oof, that's an ask. That is, whoa, yeah, that you would need. That would be the test of, I think, anybody's sweet tooth to go all in on that one and then just drink it straight faced.
But as part of a complete indulgent dessert platter, you could not go wrong. I'm surprised this isn't drunk more widely. Clearly there's enough of it in circulation to provide Scotland with the PX casks used for whisky maturation. However, I'm surprised you don't just see PX. I had to really hunt this out on a niche shelf at the back of our local expert wine importers. There are only maybe 2 or 3 PX varieties available there.
No, it's not a lot.
But it's so accessible, so sweet, and so deliciously Moorish that it should be more popular. More people should be drinking this.
Well, when my long heralded hipster resurgence of sherry comes about, then maybe it will find its day in the sun. But until now, it will remain rather niche. But from our palates to yours, May Dolce, very sweet. That's the lowdown on Pedro Ximénez. Yeah. In this case, from San Emilio,
the Lustau winery.
But yeah, well, it's a frightening thing. I'll tell you what. You let us know about your experiences with PX, because I doubt anyone's going to have a. It's going to be one or the other. I think there's no middle ground with this one. You either love sweet stuff like this, or it's too much and it just blows up your palate.
But it is still fascinating to try what created those casks, which then go into Glendronach and the other PX matured whiskies. Yeah, it is great just experiencing the lineage, really.
It is one of whiskey's most distant cousins, I suppose, because this could not be. Except maybe Drambuie, this is very different from your typical whiskey. Anyway, I've got to go run this off now. There's just so much sugar in my system.
All those calories.
About to go completely mental on this. All right, Sludger, we'll be right back with something that's not sherry. Unless something really goes wrong in the system, and then we do sherry in a row, and then,
Who knows?
Who can say? Right, or at least the camera didn't fuck us on that.